I installed the cameras because I wanted to sleep. I kept telling myself that's what security is, a tax you pay to rest. Front door, living room, a pinhole in the hallway, and a single indoor cam facing the windows that look over the parking lot. Motion alerts on, cloud backup, nothing fancy, nothing I couldn't explain. And then one Tuesday at 9:03 p.m., while I was brushing my teeth, my phone buzzed with an alert. Motion detected, living room. I glanced at the screen. The thumbnail showed my couch, empty, the floor lamp, off. I swiped, the live view opened, timestamp in the top left corner. Wed 9:03 p.m. I checked the date on my lock screen. TUE 9:03 p.m. I stared so long, I forgot the toothbrush in my mouth. Mint burned my tongue. My brain tried to rearrange the numbers in a way that made sense. The camera wasn't showing live. It was showing tomorrow. For 30 seconds, the feed stayed empty, quiet, and harmless. And then the lamp flickered on by itself, washing the room in a color I don't own. It wasn't warm yellow. It wasn't daylight. It was a thin, medical blue that made the shadows look like bruises. I swallowed foam and whispered to no one, no. The lamp turned off. The feed ended. The app wrote, clip saved to cloud. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my side, facing the hallway, phone on my pillow, the way people used to clutch rosaries. Every creak sounded like an appointment I hadn't agreed to. At exactly Wed 9:03 p.m., the lamp in the living room turned on in the same color my camera had shown me Tuesday. Not a second early, not a second late. I stood there in the doorway and watched it happen, memory mirrored as fact. That should have been enough to throw everything away, cameras, bulbs, the cheap comfort of surveillance. But if fear is a door, curiosity is the hand you can't stop from turning the knob. The next evening, 8:41 p.m., another alert, motion detected hallway. The thumbnail was a blur, like the camera had sneezed. I opened the clip. FRI 8:41 p.m. I hadn't lived Friday yet, but there I was, in the frame, walking down the hallway with a glass of water. I paused in front of the picture of my father, the one I never hung, leaning against the baseboard because grief taught me to be lazy with memory, and I turned, half a glance at the camera, like I knew it was watching. Then I kept going. The clip ended. I waited for Friday so I could disobey it. When 8:41 came, I stayed in the kitchen. I didn't pick up a glass. I didn't walk the hallway. My hallway remained empty. My father's photo never acknowledged. At 8:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. Motion detected hallway. The thumbnail was me, right where the clip said I would be, holding the glass I wasn't holding. I opened the live feed and saw nothing. An empty, still hall. No me, no glass. Then the clip switched to playback, and there I was, 30 seconds behind reality, doing exactly what I had refused to do. So now I know, whether I act or not, my cameras remember a future I can't avoid. If you're still with me, if you're listening, tell me something. What would you do if your house showed you a day you hadn't lived yet? Would you screenshot it, run, laugh it off until it happens? The third time, I tried to catch the future in the act. Saturday afternoon, I set the living room cam to continuous recording and sat in the dark with the TV unplugged, every bulb cold to the touch, the router rebooted. I told myself that if the future wanted to visit, it could knock on the front door like anything else. At sun 2:13 a.m., my phone vibrated with a gentle urgency. Motion detected front door. I clicked like a reflex. Moan 2:13 a.m. The timestamp looked bored, like time never needed me at all. In the frame, my front door. The peephole. The cheap welcome mat I've never believed in. And a shadow falling across the lower half, as if someone stood very close to the wood with the hallway light behind them. The handle twitched, the deadbolt didn't. Then a single, patient knock. I found myself whispering to the phone, "Don't answer." The clip ended. I stood in my living room until my legs hurt, looking at a door that was perfectly still, a door that would be knocked on tomorrow by a hand I hadn't met yet. When moan 2:13 a.m. came, the knock was softer than the clip made it sound. Almost polite. I did not answer. The next morning, I downloaded the clip to my laptop. I scrubbed through the frames one by one. At 2:12:57, as the shadow first fell across the mat, the image stuttered and multiplied, as if there were two shadows for half a second, slightly misaligned, like the future had brought a friend or a correction. By Tuesday, the cameras stopped showing me empty rooms. They started showing me conversations. Alert living room, WED 10:11 p.m. I saw myself sitting on the couch, phone in my lap, staring at the dark TV. My head turned left, toward the hallway, like I heard someone call my name. On the audio track, thin, compressed, a voice. I swear to you it was mine, but the vowels were cleaner, as if sharpened, whispered, "Don't go." Then another whisper, the kind you feel on the inside of your ribs. "Let him." The clip ended on my face, not moving, and I realized I had never seen myself so still. I didn't look like a person caught in a moment. I looked like a person waiting for permission. If you're still here, do you feel sick yet? Are your lights okay? Is your phone warm in your hand? I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to see if I'm alone. Wednesday night at 10:11 p.m., I sat in the same place, on the same couch, phone face down. When the whisper came from the hallway, my name, cleaned and sharpened, I didn't turn. The second whisper still arrived from nowhere. "Let him." I wasn't sure which him it meant. I decided to move anyway. I walked to the hallway and stood in front of the camera like a defendant in a quiet courtroom. I raised my hand to cover the lens. I thought if I could interrupt the future's view, maybe the future would let go of me. The living room camera pinged. Alert living room, THU 10:12 p.m. I opened it, already clenching my teeth. FRI 10:12 p.m. I was standing in the hallway in that clip too, hand over the lens, as if the recordings had simply incorporated my defiance like a note in the margin. From the living room mic, breathing, long, careful, mirroring mine, and then a new sound, a click like a lock setting itself. I ran to the front door and turned the deadbolt. It was already engaged. I knew that. I just needed to touch something that belonged to now. On Friday at 10:12 p.m., the lock clicked again from inside the living room, the way the clip had promised. I watched the door, but it didn't move. The sound came from the room itself, from the air, like the house had a throat. After that, I stopped pretending I was in charge. I set every camera to record continuously. I turned off notifications just to spite the anxiety. I promised myself I wouldn't check the app unless I needed proof. I needed proof within the hour. I found a clip in the kitchen that begins with the faucet dripping, 3 drops, then a fourth that never falls. The drop hangs in the air like a glass bead, while the timestamp blinks SAT 4:02 a.m. and the seconds stop counting. In that pause, someone walks through the frame. Bare feet, my pajama pants, the shoulder of my t-shirt. But the face is blurred, as if the camera's mercy had limits. It sets a glass on the counter, picks it up, sets it down again, waits. Then it turns toward the lens and says, in my exact voice, but without my exhaustion, "You don't have to be here for this." The seconds start counting again. The bead of water falls and shatters on the steel. Tell me if you saw yourself talk to a camera from a day you hadn't reached. Would you move out? Would you call anyone? Would you beg a stranger to come watch the feed with you so you'd know you didn't hallucinate it alone? I didn't move out. I don't know what that says about me. Maybe terror is a leash I pretend is a choice. Sunday morning, I woke to sunlight and a calendar notification for a meeting I forgot to cancel 6 months ago. For the first time in a week, the cameras had recorded nothing. The hour I allowed myself as a reward was the hour that broke me. At 11:03 a.m., the living room feed switched to moan 11:03 a.m. with no alert at all. The sound came first, an odd hiss, like wind moving through a throat coated in dust. The image shook. My cooch appeared. The lamp remained off, and then the frame widened. That's not a feature of my cameras. They have a fixed field of view. But the frame widened, stretching the walls farther apart, revealing a part of the room that doesn't exist. A door where the bookshelf stands. A door I have never used because I have never seen it. The door opened inward. Something stood just behind it, too close to be in focus. Long and thin, face angled the way a question leans. It stepped forward. The frame trembled, like the camera wanted to look away. The figure didn't have eyes, or it had too many. I can't reconcile the frames with memory. The pixels erode as soon as I try to hold them. I remember only this: it moved like a person remembering how. It lifted its hand and knocked on air. From the living room microphone, my front door replied with that same polite, single knock from a week ago. Then the figure looked up at the camera, the hiss smiled, the clip ended. I scrubbed back. The bookshelf was there again, the door gone, the room normal. I unplugged everything. I don't know what I thought that would do, but the ritual of removal calmed me for exactly a minute. When I plugged the living room camera back in, it booted to a frozen frame of my own face, close and misaligned, as if I had leaned in during a future I hadn't seen yet. My eyes looked tired. My mouth was open, as if caught mid-sentence. Overlaid at the bottom was a caption I didn't write. "Please don't leave." I closed the app. I went outside. I walked the block like a citizen of a safer story. I tried to inhale air that hadn't touched my walls. When I came back, my hallway camera was on even though I had cut power at the breaker. It showed the hallway dark as a held breath. Timestamp TUE2, 19 a.m. Date Moan 9:46 p.m. At the end of the hall, someone stepped out of the bathroom. It was me. I know the way my shoulders slope when I don't trust my posture. I know my nervous habit of pressing my thumb into my palm. I know, my future said into the dark, I know you're watching. What do you want? I asked the screen, because asking the question out loud felt like tying myself back to gravity. My future tilted his head, like he was listening to a voice I couldn't hear. Then, as if he were repeating instructions, he whispered, "Do not open the door, even when I knock. Especially then." He lifted a hand and pointed behind the camera toward the living room. Then he touched the hallway lens with 2 fingers, a gesture I've never made, a strange benediction, and walked away. The clip ended. I stared at the empty hallway on live view, wishing I believed in any god who accepted late confessions. At TUE2, 19 a.m., there was no hallway clip. There was an alert front door, 2:19 a.m. Timestamp, WED2, 19 a.m. I opened it. The lens was almost entirely covered by darkness, as if someone had wrapped their hand around the peephole. I could see the crescent of my doormat. I could hear breathing, wet and patient, and the smallest scrape of something adjusting its weight. A whisper, gentle as a blade's promise. "Are you comfortable yet?" I put my hand on the deadbolt and felt it vibrate, like the metal itself had a pulse. I didn't open. I waited for Wednesday, and when the knock came, I put my phone in the freezer and pressed my back to the door and breathed through my teeth until my lungs calmed enough to remember they belonged to me. It is exhausting to live in a house that submits its homework early. After that, the future stopped speaking in hours. It learned days. Alert living room, next Sunday. Alert bedroom, next month. The app had never used those words before. I didn't know it could. I clicked the next Sunday clip and saw Christmas lights reflecting in the window glass I have never hung. My couch was gone. A mattress leaned against the wall. My suitcase sat open on the floor with my clothes folded in a way I don't fold them. I heard footsteps in the hall, Two sets that tried to synchronize and could not. Someone whispered, "He's almost ready." I closed the app. I tasted iron. I folded onto the floor and pretended the tile could draw the heat out of me like a fever leaving. I'm telling you all this because I think I've figured out the rule. It is simple and cruel. The cameras don't predict, they prepare. They don't show me what might happen, they show me what will happen unless I leave. And when I try to leave, the house opens a door I don't own. Tonight, as I write, every camera is showing me a version of this room from a few minutes ahead. Tiny corrections slide through the frames like eels, my hand in a slightly different place, my breath not fogging the air when it should, my reflection on the black TV screen blinking when my eyes are steady. The front door camera is empty. The doormat is clean. The timestamp says THU3:03 AM because it enjoys symmetry. I set a glass of water on the table. The living room feed puts the glass half an inch to the left. I move it to match. The feed moves it half an inch to the right. I stop, the feed stops. We wait each other out until the seconds on the stamp look embarrassed. Tell me if your home learned your delays. Would you forgive it this hunger? Would you let it eat your schedule, your posture, your patience, until you became an obedient roomer of yourself? At 3:01 AM, the hallway camera changes on its own to the door view. Even though I didn't select it, the frame widens again in a way it shouldn't, and there it is, the extra door I don't own. The bookshelf stands aside like a friend who knows they're in the way. The door opens. I hear nothing at first. The speakers are too polite to introduce a scream. Then, under the low-grade hiss of the world being recorded, something whispers from the space between the frames. Let him. I scroll the app with shaking fingers and open the bedroom feed. Tomorrow's timestamp. My bed empty. The blankets move like something is breathing underneath them, but when I rewind, the blankets don't move at all. When I fast forward, they're perfectly still. Only when I press play do they lift and settle, as if the room only agrees to live when observed. I switch back to the living room. The future has caught up to me. On the screen, I'm standing, phone in hand, gaze locked on the door that will open if I look away. My face looks honest for once. I'm not pretending not to be afraid. I raise my free hand in the frame and wave at myself. 2 fingers, the benediction I thought was original to my future. I'm not sure which of us starts crying first. Please, I whisper to the empty room, and the room records the plea 30 seconds in advance. Please don't leave, my living room says back, the caption I didn't write blooming on the screen again like a bruise. I don't know who it's for, me, the version of me in the video, the thing behind the door itself. It's 3:03 AM. Someone knocks on the front door. Polite. Single. As promised. Every camera switches to the front door view without my touch. The peephole blooms a red ring. The hallway behind the wood is dark as a shut eye. A voice like mine, in a tone I only use when I try to be kind, says, "I'm outside." Another voice, mine without the kindness, answers from the living room. "No, you're already in." Silence. A breath. The deadbolt shivers. If I stop uploading after this, you'll say I disappeared. You'll say the channel went quiet and that the last file was too long, that I should have edited the fear down. But if your camera ever shows you a future you didn't ask to see, remember this. Do not open the door, even when it is you asking. Especially then. And if a timestamp you haven't lived, yet begs you not to leave, consider that maybe it isn't talking to you at all. Maybe it's talking to the house. And maybe the house has already answered.